Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank all the people over on Patreon for all their support, because without their help, the upgraded content that you see on the channel, that you really see in the video essays and a few of the lore discussions, would not be possible without their help. Obviously, the YouTube membership filler arc is still ongoing, but I can say over on the Patreon that you get sneak peeks of videos months in advance. Patrons also get priority on the Q&As. Every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul, and I give away a lot of good goodies in that. And it's also just really cool to talk to you guys in the DMs, and if some of you guys have theories that you want me to talk about on the channel, obviously I will talk about your theories. Just send them to me over on the Patreon. But with that being said, let's get into the review. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto episode 230. And now that episode 230 is done and in the books, man, we got a lot to talk about, because this was a huge episode. And if you read the manga, there's probably a certain scene that takes place at the end of the episode that you're looking at and you're saying, what in the world just happened right here? And I'm going to tell you right now, you're definitely not alone, and we'll address that once we get to that part of the review. So obviously, if you've not seen the anime episode, you'll want to watch the episode, or at this point, I'm assuming you don't care about any type of spoiler discussion. So I gotta say, this episode, in terms of the importance for Kawaki's character development, that's probably the biggest takeaway from what we got here, because Kawaki not only learned what it means to make a sacrifice for something bigger than yourself, to believe in something bigger than yourself and not only look out for your own best interest, but he also got to see firsthand what happens when somebody lays down their life for the shinobi village. So I thought that was a nice opportunity for Kawaki to kind of get taken out of his shell a little bit. Like when you open up the episode and you see Kawaki, he's running alongside Mozuku, and he's able to see the determination Mozuku has, and he's able to make amends with what Mozuku was able to do, where Mozuku says, you know, I'm being hunted down by my feudal lord. He sent out Anbu. He sent out his best Anbu. I should have been more upfront with you. And I like how Mozuku owns up to it, and Kawaki basically says like, hey, I'm here with you. We're going to get you to your village. Don't worry about it. And the reason why I think that that's interesting is that's a little bit of growth before. If you look at where Kawaki was when we first got introduced to him, when he was running away from the Kara organization, he was one of those characters where the moment he sees that you're withholding information and that you're not being honest with them, he's running away or he's going to attack you. He's got that fight or flight instinct. And on one hand, you can look at that and say that's definitely an impact that Naruto's had on him. That's also a moment where you look at it and you say he's also changed. Because that level of mind state to be able to forgive somebody for lying to you, that shows a lot in terms of his character growth. So I thought that that was a huge takeaway from this episode, is that he didn't turn his back on that character. That was something that, again, if we go months ago in the timeline, he would have done so. And so I like how when Naruto's getting the updated information from Konohamaru, one of the things that Naruto says is like, okay, well, you know, Boruto's team is already out there on the perimeter. The land of calm seas looks like they're in turmoil. We got to take this very carefully. We're going to send out reinforcements. Boruto's team will be the one that's on there. And what we see is that by the time that the Jonin is able to get the orders over to Mitsuki, Boruto and Sardas, they've already left. And what I like about this is that they split up and they allowed Mitsuki to handle the D-rank mission on his own. And by the time Boruto and Sarda catch up to Cho-Cho and Shikadai, Cho-Cho, she's about to collapse and fall over. And once again, you see how they make good decisions. You see the teamwork there, because Sarda looks at the situation. She's helping out with Cho-Cho's recovery, and she takes over having Cho-Cho transported to the Hidden Leaf Village. And that leaves Shikadai and Boruto to serve as reinforcements to Kawaki. And what I like about that is when Boruto learns that Kawaki's gone out on his own and he's acting rogue once again, Boruto just has that worried expression on his face. He calls him that guy, and Shikadai's already looking past this, and he's like, well, he's technically seeing the mission through. He's acting on his own. That's not something you just disqualify somebody from being a Genin. Teamwork matters, but there are times where acting on your own is in the best interest of the team. The parameters of the mission can change. You have to be willing to adjust. I get where Shikadai is coming from on this, and what I like about this moment right here is that we see just what Shikadai meant when he said that Kawaki has all the skills needed to be a Genin. That's something we as viewers, we already knew. Again, when he first got introduced, when he was fatigued and he wasn't fighting at full power, his skill level was already being compared to being at an S rank terms of level. That's Jonin level. So it's one of those things where the skill was always there, but we see how his whole fighting style has changed. He's incorporating more ninja tactics, and the best way to see that is when the ninja that they're fighting uses that infinite C jutsu, where it's basically a water jutsu that's pretty damn overpowered, where it's basically like a hidden mist jutsu where you get this mist all around you, and as the mist is floating around, you have all of these clones, and the clones are just smoke clones, and so they never truly go away. They just continue to repopulate whenever you destroy them. And as this is going on and as you're being confused, you don't realize that the fog that's being created is taking the water from everything around it. And it kind of goes back to the whole theme of Naruto, which is a ninja must learn to see past deceptions. Kawaki was too worried about the mist and finding the real clone inside of what was in front of him that he didn't realize that his lips are getting chapped. And I like how the anime studio that did this was just kind of showing you the cracks on the lips over time. That's something that if you catch that, that's a very nice touch right there. And what I like here is that Kawaki for a second looks like he's getting dizzy, he's getting disoriented, and what I like about that is that instead of panicking, he just continues to observe the situation. So you're seeing more and more of that training that he had with Naruto off screen. So I did like seeing that bit, and I like how when the shurikens start getting thrown, the dude's just bobbing and weaving out of place, he's deflecting, and you get this really good sequence where Kawaki, after realizing that the shuriken are moving in unnatural movements, he's able to put some distance between himself, and he uses a fire style release jutsu in order to blow apart the mist, and he's able to target the real body. And once that's done, that's when everything begins to change. That's when your reinforcements show up. That's when Boruto and Shikadai show up and they offer the aid to him, and you really get to see Kawaki participate in a true team battle where they're backing him up. And I thought that that was big for his character, because Kawaki is still at a point to where he tries to do a little bit too much on his own. He's got aspects of the issues that Sasuke and Kakashi had, where they had trouble participating in terms of being as a part of a team. They had too much of that alpha mentality, and in order to even be somebody that's in a leadership position one day, you have to at least allow yourself to be led. And that's an issue that Kawaki's had trouble with, because again, this is somebody who, for as long as he's been alive and on his own, he's always had to do things on his own. That was the whole purpose of Kara. Kara was teaching him to rely on the ninja tech inside of his body, and Jigen was teaching him to rely on his karma seal, to not think about anything except for gaining that power. In a sense, he was empty inside, hence he was being held captive by Kara. Kara stands for husk. He was an empty husk of a human being, and you've seen the difference here where he's begun to be filled in, and that sacrifice that Mozuku makes, where Mozuku not only protects Kawaki, but most importantly, he protects that medicine that they're trying to get back to their village. Mozuku ends up taking a pretty nasty shuriken that basically rips him right across the chest and the lower body. You see him starting to bleed out, and you see how Kawaki is really beginning to affect him. And what I like about that is that the death that you see here, the way Kawaki reacts to it, is once that Anbu from the Land of Calm Seas is captured by Shikadai's Shadow Paralysis Jutsu, Kawaki shows real restraint, because he could have just killed him. He could have killed him, but he showed restraint, and he was able to keep his emotions in check. So I thought that that was kind of cool to see that. And for evidence of that, just go back to the Goro fight. When Kawaki killed him, he could have just did the same thing he did against Goro, where he just fires off a massive energy blast and destroys half of this dude's upper body. which Kawaki can still do. That wasn't the power of the Karma Seal that Kawaki used for that projectile blast. He can do that with his ninja tech. All Karma did was make it more powerful. I like how after Kawaki basically puts the kid Mozuku on the tree and lets him die off in peace, Kawaki sees through that mission to the end. And when you get to that scene where Boruto and Shikadai are backing him up when they run into the reinforcements of those Anbu, Boruto and Shikadai make real light work out of all of those ninja. Kawaki once again gets put in a situation where he gets to see how there are ninja who will put the village before themselves. There are ninja who believe in something bigger than themselves. And as a human being, when you're a part of a bigger collective community, it no longer becomes about what you want, but instead it becomes about what's best for other people that you care about. And I'll say I did think it was kind of funny that they threw in a little bit of social commentary there in terms of, yeah, I got this vaccine, but only the poor people are going to be affected by it. You know, you take from that what you will. I'm not going to go any deeper in it because that's not what this channel's about. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea about me, but I'll say that I thought that, you know, just kind of throwing in that class aspect, that was good writing, not because of the social commentary that slipped in, if that's how you view that scene, but because that also goes back to Kawaki's roots when he was a child, because he was the son of a shinobi. They were living in a poor village, and Kawaki saw firsthand what it was like to grow up in poverty. So I thought that that was kind of cool to see that, because it was a small tie back to Kawaki's origins. So I thought that was nice to see that, and I like how when Kawaki eventually gets that antidote, that vaccine to Mozuku sensei, he tells him, hey, Mozuku gave his life for this. Make sure you go back and get his body. That was a pretty obvious thing. However, the reason why that was big is you see how in that short period of time, Mozuku's already made that big of an impact on Kawaki, that he at least wants the kid to get buried correctly and be surrounded by the people that actually love him. That way they can say goodbye. So I thought that, again, that was nice growth for Kawaki as a character. And when Boruto tries to give him those flavored custards in the hospital, when Kawaki's supposed to be recovering, Kawaki's completely checked out. And Boruto and Mitsuki basically misread the situation. They're like, man, he's not really cut out to be a shinobi, is he? You know, he's torn up. And that's a big deal. The fact that they lost the client that they're supposed to be protecting. They died under their care. And the mission that they were on that was supposed to be a C rank mission escalated to being something that was A rank in terms of fallout, and it could have escalated even further if they would have had to get involved with that feudal lord. However, the thing that Kawaki is able to get is after he leaves out of the hospital, Shikadai takes him over to Shikadai's grandfather's grave, and he says, hey, my grandfather died for this village, as did everybody else who is in here. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I'm telling you that we're teammates. We share each other's pain. We share each other's wins. We share each other's losses. You don't have to burden this by yourself. That was Shikadai's way of saying, I know you got close to this kid, and it sucks that he dies, but you're not the only one that was impacted by this, but you've got to learn to persevere through it. And after Shikadai has that conversation with him, you see Kawaki and Naruto, they're talking on top of the Hokage office, and Kawaki's begging for a second opportunity, and Naruto has a moment where he says, like, hey, you passed. Shikadai signed off on you. Don't worry about it. This comes after Naruto and Shikamaru both agreed to send the Hidden Leaf Village's medical ninja over to the Land of Calm Seas in order to see what's going on with that feudal lord and help speed up the process. I'll say the two shots are probably the best shots in my opinion, were the animation shots where Kawaki's walking through the rain and you kind of see how that was a great backdrop towards the storm that was brewing inside of him. That was a great use of setting right there. The same thing with the great use of setting when Naruto and Kawaki are talking to one another on top of the Hokage monument and you got the sun going down. I thought that those were very, very symbolic shots. And the revelation that Naruto has, where Naruto tells Kawaki, you're going to be going on missions, but you're going to be going on missions with me. That kind of goes back to what Naruto told the Kage during the 5 Kage summit. Like, hey, this kid's going to be watched by me at all times. No need to worry about that. That is also set up for Boruto chapter 58 because Naruto is there when Kawaki and Team 7 have their moment. So that makes sense to have that right there. Again, it seems like we're building towards chapter 58. However, there's a small change that was made here where in Boruto chapter 61, Boruto tells Kawaki, and I don't consider this a spoiler because the anime changed this, but Boruto in chapter 61 tells Kawaki, hey, you're not officially a shinobi yet. And in this episode, we see how Naruto says, hey, you're a Genin from now on, but you're gonna be going on missions with me. So it's one of those things where the anime, just like they did with Sarda's 3-tomo, where in the manga, she's got the 3-tomo, in the novel, she's got the 3-tomo, but in the anime right now, she's only got 2. It's one of those things where you just take it and you roll with it. The anime's done a very good job in terms of storytelling, so I'm not gonna be too worked up on it. So my chapter question to you guys is, did you think Kawaki deserved to be made into a Genin? And then the second question I have for you is, how do you rate Kawaki's character growth in the time since we've been introduced to him in episode 189 up to now in episode 230? On a scale from 1 to 10, how do you rate his character growth? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Have an awesome day, guys.